Now, the activity that we're going to talk about today can actually be a $10,000 an hour activity. Let me repeat that. What we're going to talk about today can be a $10,000 activity. So this needs to take precedent. This needs to be your priority versus anything else that you're doing. You need to make time for this every week. And you don't need to make like tens and tens of hours a week. Like it doesn't have to take up your whole life. But if you can commit between 2 to 3 hours per week on this activity, and I'm going to outline that today, what you got to do, how you got to do it, that's going to pay huge dividends.
Welcome to the Painter Growth Podcast, where we help you scale your painting company in record time. Join us as we explore sales, marketing, hiring, finances, leadership, and more, everything that you need to know to scale and grow your painting business. I hope you enjoy and subscribe.
What's up, everybody? Mike Hickman, founder of PainterGrowth.com, and y'all are listening to another episode of the Painter Growth Podcast. In this very special solo episode, I'm going to talk to you today about something we've been talking a lot about recently in our community, something that is generating hundreds of thousands of dollars for our clients. Literally the number one, like I've titled this episode, the number one strategic advantage that you can have as a painting contractor looking to scale their business, probably the highest value activity that you could be doing as an owner. We hear a lot of times people are just so busy. I'm so busy doing this. I'm so busy painting. I'm so busy doing estimates. I'm so busy talking to customers. I'm so busy, picking up paint, dealing with all these things. But if you look at like the hourly rate, those things are actually providing for your business, the revenue or the profit that's generating for you. Painting, we've talked about this before. It's like a $50 an hour task, right? Not a huge leverage activity that you can be doing. Even doing estimates, like doing an estimate, we've kind of calculated, we've ran the numbers before. That's like a $500 per hour, which, hey, is pretty good. Just really quick, how did I get to $500 per hour? Well, if you book 1 out of 3 estimates and your average job size is like $3,000, that means every time you do an estimate, you book about $1,000 worth of work, right? 3 estimates, $3,000, $1,000 each. Most guys probably have higher average job sizes than that. But at $3,000, your gross margin is going to be 1,500. 1,500 divided by 3 is 500. So if you're following that, every estimate you do, you're making about $500 per hour in terms of gross margin. Now, the activity that we're going to talk about today can actually be a $10,000 an hour activity. Let me repeat that. What we're going to talk about today can be a $10,000 activity. So this needs to take precedent. This needs to be your priority versus anything else that you're doing. You need to make time for this every week. And you don't need to make like tens and tens of hours a week. Like it doesn't have to take up your whole life. But if you can commit between 2 to 3 hours per week on this activity, and I'm going to outline that today, what you got to do, how you got to do it, that's going to pay huge dividends. Okay. Now that idea, as you guys saw in the title or any of our posts for this episode, that's strategic partners, right? And so what is a strategic partner? Basically, a strategic partner is a referral source, someone whose job it is to basically send you paint jobs. And these strategic partners can take a lot of forms and shapes depending on your area, the type of business you have, types of clients you want to generate. So what are some of the common types of strategic partners? Well, we have property managers, custom home builders, I would say like a home builder doing less than, say, 20 homes a year. General contractors, otherwise known as GCs. Realtors, interior designers, right? And then on our call the other day, we even talked about things like roofers or plumbers, basically anyone referring work out. Those are going to be smaller jobs typically, but hey, these are still strategic partners. Now, why are these so valuable? Why do I say $100,000 or $1 million or $10,000 an hour activity? Well, like I said, one strategic partner can easily provide you $100,000 or more every single year of work. So if you're particularly targeting something like a commercial repaint, say you're looking at commercial repaint exteriors or even interiors, like lobbies of hotels or any of these like big commercial properties that are being managed by a property management company, they got to get painted, right? So why not you? Why not you? And the reason why I like commercial repaints instead of like new builds or like large scale commercial or industrial is that most of the time, commercial repaints are bid on like walkthroughs and production rates versus blueprints. And if you're bidding through a property manager, there's probably going to be a lot lower, a lot less competition if you do it right than if you were to bid this through a general contractor just on the blueprints, right? Or even a lot of the times on residential. And with these commercial repaints, you can actually get just about residential margins, but on huge jobs. So if you're in a $50,000 job and you're still able to generate a 25 or a 50% gross margin in that same amount of time, like that's just so much less logistics, right? That's less moving equipment around. That's less sales. That's less marketing. That's less so much. But it takes some work up front to put yourself into the position to be able to generate strategic partners, to be able to have these relationships with people who are actually going to call you and say, "Hey, Mike, I have a project that I need someone to bid on. I would like you to bid on it." And then, even what's more than that is there are some strategies that you can employ that will make you the front runner, right? Like figuring out exactly what the property manager or what the realtor is looking for when it comes to completing this project, and then reverse engineering your proposal to match those requirements. Okay, so let's run some math here. How did I get to $10,000 per hour? So, if every single week, less 2 weeks, so say 50 weeks a year, you're able to meet with one strategic partner. So every week you just secured one meeting with a strategic partner. And let's say on average, because it's going to vary a ton, but let's say on average, each one of those sent you one job in the entire year, right? It's going to be more like 1 out of 20 will send you 20 instead of one job each. But let's just say one job per strategic partner out of these 50 meetings that you had. And let's say because it's a commercial repaint, it's going to be a bigger project. So say it's a 20K project. So $20,000 times 50 is $1 million. So just doing one meeting a week by doing the outreach that you need to do to get one meeting a week at those numbers, that's $1 million per year. So if it takes you an hour to secure each meeting and then an hour to do each meeting, it's 2 hours per meeting. That's 100 hours. So you take $1 million divided by 100 hours of work. That's $10,000 an hour. I mean, $5,000 an hour of gross margin. I mean, how can you argue with that? At the start, it's going to be you, but as you build your business and you create more capital and create more profit, you're going to eventually be able to hire someone to do this outreach for you, to do this what we call business development and strategic partner outreach. Okay, so what is important to strategic partners? Now, when you're identifying a strategic partner, you really want to set yourself apart. You don't want to be the low ball. You don't want to be competing on price. So you really need to ensure that you have a good sales process. So what is important to them, right? So the easiest way to identify like what is important to a specific strategic partner is simply to ask them. So you got to, unfortunately, got to do some cold calling, and we can talk a little bit about creating your list and how to do outreach and things like that. But when you're figuring out what's important to them, you really need to ask them. And asking them, is very similar to sales that you're doing in a residential format. So by calling, um, by doing sales with homeowners, you're going to naturally get better at doing sales with property managers. So some of the things that you can ask them to figure out what is important to them, things like, hey, have you worked with any painters before? Or do you typically work with painters? What's your experience been like? What went well? What didn't go well? What do you wish a relationship with a painter looked like? What would be an ideal relationship? How can I make your life better? Do you have any horror stories? And basically, you're going to get the answers to these questions. You're going to create some marketing material out of it. So say you want to make a big push to meet with property managers. So first thing you're going to do is try to get your first meeting with a property manager without any marketing material. And you're simply going to do that by going on Google and searching property managers in my city and adding in all of the different property managers to that you're finding to what's called your hit list. And if you want a template of this hit list, I'm going to put one in the description here for you to use. And basically, you hit Google, right? Just Google them, put them in, and then you're going to look on their websites, the various property managers' websites, for two specific things. One, what types of properties are they typically managing? Because you don't really want a property manager who's going to be doing refreshes or quick, like low budget, slumlord type in and move outs, because those are super cheap, right? Those are like $200 for a whole apartment, and we don't want to be doing that. We want to see that they're managing large commercial projects. They have a bunch of property manager on their team, and the person that you're looking for is going to be the maintenance manager or the head of maintenance or head of operations or something like that. And that's the person that you're going to want to get a hold of. So it's going to take you going outside of your comfort zone a little bit, but once you create a list of a few of these guys and girls, you're going to start some outreach. Start with a phone call, right? Do not do an email, right? Emails do never get answered. So you got to start with a phone call or an office visit. So an office visit is best, but you can definitely start with a phone call. Pick up the phone, dial it. Hi, can I talk to Rob Peterson? I see that he's the maintenance manager there. Sure, let me see if he's available. Or what's this in regards to? Oh, we're a painting contractor, and we just like to speak with him for a moment. Cool, sounds good. Get past the gatekeeper. Get past the secretary. That's all you need to say. If that person is just not available, then say, when is Rob typically in the office? I want to just pop by and drop him off something. Right? So you get that information and you go to the office. Now, doing this type of thing, doing this type of outreach can really feel outside of most people's comfort zones, and it doesn't feel very fun a lot of the time, right? You're putting yourself out there, you're doing something a little bit uncomfortable, but just keep thinking $10,000 an hour, right? There's not much I wouldn't do in this world for $10,000 an hour, right? So let's get a little bit uncomfortable for 10K an hour. So let's go identify this person. Let's have a sit down meeting with them. And on this meeting, we're at least on this very first one, we're not going to be selling ourselves too hard. We're going to be more in the mindset of discovery and curiosity and what's important to them and how can I help you? How can I serve you? Their lives as property managers, as maintenance managers, every single phone call they get is a problem. My sink broke, my dishwasher's leaking, I have this problem, whatever, right? They're always responding to fires and putting out fires and responding to problems. So how can you be the beacon of hope in their sea of darkness, right? That's the mindset that you want to go into. How can you help them? They really need your service. They really want help. So how can you help them? The aim here is to sit down with them for about 30 minutes in their office or for coffee and start asking them questions. So the way that you frame this meeting is the first half of it, maybe 15, 20 minutes, you're going to be asking them about all of the questions that I mentioned earlier. How do you work with painters? What's your experience been like? What went well? What didn't go well? What do you wish a relationship with a painter looked like? Any horror stories? And you're going to make sure to write down or record the answers that they give you, because those are crucial and you're going to be putting those answers in your marketing material, right? So make sure you write those down or record them. Then the second half of that presentation is going to be them asking you questions. And hopefully, as they ask you questions, you're able to reiterate back and regurgitate the problems that they told you as the solutions that you can solve. And that's going to be the goal of the marketing material that you create, is regurgitating the problems that they have as the solutions that you solve, so that you seem like the obvious, natural person to solve their problems. Cool. So at the end of that first meeting, because you don't have any marketing material, it's not a huge deal, but you just say, all right, so what types of next steps, or where would you like to go from here? And hopefully they say, all right, let me send you a small project, or we'll let you know if anything ever comes up. Not a problem. We don't need to sell too hard. This is going to be a numbers game, a large numbers game, right? We're talking about having like 50 meetings over the year. So don't worry about the first one. Right, after that first one or two or three without marketing material, you're going to aggregate your information and you're going to put that into a little brochure, a bifold brochure, like an 8.5 by 11 bifold brochure is what I like, to basically share all that information with property managers. Now, in our foundational training program at Painter Growth, our Painter Growth Blueprint, we have templates for that. We have a designer for that. So we'll actually get those made for you. If you are interested in that, let me know and we can show you how to get started. But with that being said, I'll kind of describe it here as good as I can do. So if you are interested, just email me directly. Don't even go through a sales guy. Just email me, mike@paintergrowth.com, and we'll take care of you if you just reference this, and we'll give you something special. Cool. So you want to get these kind of bifold glossy brochures created that look really professional. I always recommend using a designer. Don't try to design it yourself. Get it 50% of the way there and then send it to a designer, because they will do so much better than you. Get it printed on Vistaprint, get like 100 of them printed, and make it a goal of yours to get to distribute those to 100 different people. Okay. So doing one-on-one meetings with property managers or maintenance managers like that is very valuable. But what you really want, well, like the gold, gold at the end of the rainbow is how can you get a meeting in front of like all of their property managers? So if they have like 12 property managers on staff, how can you get a meeting with all 12 of them? Or if you're looking for realtors, right? Just going one-on-one with realtors is going to be a slog, and that's going to take a long time. Even though they're super valuable, how can you get a meeting with all 40 realtors at their brokerage, right? Or maybe even 20 of them or half of them or like a dozen of them. That's going to really amplify the result that you're able to get in terms of the return on your investment of time. So, we talked about sourcing the leads through Google Maps, finding the contacts on their websites, finding the maintenance managers. If they don't have a maintenance manager, their property managers themselves, or their operations manager. Then we talked about outreach. So we're going to call them and try to set up meetings. And this script for calling them and setting up meetings is not too difficult. It's like, hey, Rob, are you Rob? Cool. You're the maintenance manager for blah, 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 property management. Cool. Well, I'm Mike. I own a painting company here in city, and we're looking to work closely with one or two property managers this year. Now, tell me, Rob, do you ever work with painters on any of your properties? Right. So you can replay that back, write it down. That's like a really, really key gold script. Do you ever work with painters in any of your properties? And from there, you're just looking to get an in. Oh, yeah, we do. Okay, cool. Well, um, I'd love to show you what we do to see if there's a fit, there's any opportunity for us to work together. Um, do you mind if could I bring by some coffee to your office and we could just sit down for 20 minutes? Like, that's a pretty hard thing to say no to, right? Some of the time, they're just going to say, you know what? Just email me some information about your company. I'm really busy right now. Um, and I'll put you on our list. Okay, cool. Sounds great. What's the best email? All right, I have something I want to text you. Can I text you too? Like, what's your cell phone number? Like, if you can get that cell phone number, that's awesome. If not, no big deal. But don't get discouraged. Just like going door to door, you're going to get way more no's than you get yeses. But if you can work through those no's, right? If you can work through, you know, 30 no's to get one yes, and that one yes is the guy who's going to send you $100,000 per year of work, then it's all worth it, right? So how do we get through that, and how can we stay motivated? Motivated to dragging yourself through all of that to make it worth your time. And it's a lot easier than doing a cold call mentally if you have the right mind frame and attitude. And I said this earlier, but what you really want to have front of mind, and even write this down like on a piece of paper in front of you or print it out, is that you are providing a valuable service and taking pain away from their life. If you can be a reliable painter, then you are taking pain away from their lives, from the unreliable people in their life. And another response you might get by doing this is, you know what? We already have a painting contract. We already have a couple of painters that we work with. Cool. No worries at all. Now, just a quick aside before I get into the script. That's actually expected. You expect for them to already have painting contracts, and that's fine. But the beauty of our industry is it's full of unreliable people, at least for now. You listening to this, you're not unreliable. You're trying to professionalize the industry, and that's what we're trying to do here: is provide business education, make business education accessible for painting contractors at all levels. And if because you're interested in that, you are not an unreliable painter, you are breaking the mold. But most painting contractors out there are unreliable, and it's just a matter of time until they screw up. And so what you're looking for is the moment of pain of the property manager where the painter screwed up. So that's why you're not going to get a yes right away. That's why you need to keep going back to these property managers week after week, month after month, showing them that you're reliable. That's why 1 to 2 hours per week of outreach is what you need to do consistently for this to pay dividends in 3 to 6 months. So, all right, you have a painter. That's totally fine. Just out of curiosity, like, would you like me to just keep his pricing honest? I could just show you what I would price for any of the projects just to make sure that your guys being honest. Like something like that is a good opportunity, because if they've been working with one painter for a while, they may be out of touch with pricing. So it's like, you know what? Maybe. Okay, cool. Why don't you give me a price on this thing? And again, don't get discouraged by no's, because you're going to get no's, but it's a numbers game. There's a ton of property managers out there. And just because you got a no this week doesn't mean you're not going to call that same person back in 2 to 4 weeks, right? Because there's even though some of the big markets that we're in have tons and tons and tons of property managers, we are going to be going through those same lists over and over again, because it is a finite market, right? If you're in a city like, say Minneapolis, there might be 100 to 150 property managers, right? Realistically, a good cold caller can go through that in a day. So for you to take an hour twice a week, you're going to get through that in a couple of weeks, or in 3 to 4 weeks. So you're going to be calling on these people over and over. And if you can't get through to them on the phone, go to their office, bring some donuts, bring your brochures, try to get some FaceTime. If you can show that you're reliable, you're different than the rest, you're providing a service, you're taking away pain, you're helping them, you are going to be more likely to get jobs over time. So, hey, this is Mike with Blueprint Painting. We're a local company in Minneapolis here. Just wondering, do you work with any painters? Do you ever work with any painters? Do you ever refer jobs to painting companies? Right. So, that's pretty much it. I mean, I kind of outlined the whole system for you. Now, 90% of you listening to this are not going to do anything. You're going to listen to this. You're going to continue on with the day, keep driving, keep painting, keep picking up paint, keep doing whatever. But, I encourage you to just pay a little bit extra attention to this one, because this one can actually change your life. Like, one relationship can change your life. And if you do the work, you put yourself, make yourself a little bit uncomfortable, you do what you need to do, you can change your life. You can find these relationships, and you can find property managers that will send you hundreds of thousands of dollars of work a year. That'll allow you to scale your business. That'll allow you to get out of your current situation. That's money just waiting for you to take. So if you want to get started, I'll include the template below. If you really want to get started in a huge way and not muck around with figuring it all out, shoot me an email, mike@paintergrowth.com. I will give you a little special deal if you want to join our programs and specifically learn about this. Honestly, change your life if this is what you're looking to do. Cool. Well, with that being said, thank you for coming on this journey with me, and I wish you all the best. And I truly, truly wish you try this, because it will change your life. And if you get stuck, reach out to me directly. I'm here for you. Peace, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.